Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some interesting information coming out from Russia to share with you guys. We're going to be showing you a video of Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, speaking to the CEO of the movie studio company in Russia called Mosfilm. And while he was speaking to the CEO stated that apparently his company had donated at least 36 Soviet-era tanks for Russia's war effort in Ukraine. Now, this is very interesting because this movie studio company, they use these tanks like what you see here. This is a T-55 that was produced in the 1950s in the Soviet era times, and they use these tanks for movie props, okay? And apparently they had a bunch of these sitting in warehouses in Russia, and the CEO basically comes out in this video and states that whenever he heard that Russia's special military operation was underway, soon after that, he started donating these tanks over to Russia so they could use them in the war against Ukraine. So very interesting. The reason why I want to show you guys this video today and this information is because is this indicative that Russia is running out of tanks, or maybe they have a shortage of tanks? If they're having to dip into a movie studio company to utilize their movie prop tanks, is this a big sign that Russia has been having issues with logistics and getting tanks to the front? I mean, I have shown you guys multiple videos of Soviet-era tanks, even sometimes T-34s in videos on Russian training grounds, okay? So very interesting information that I want to show you today. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this, and I'm going to start sharing some of these details here with you. So we're going to start off over here on the Moscow Times. Russian studio Mosfilm donates 36 Soviet-era tanks to Army. So as you can see, this just coming out here 6 hours ago today. Here's that picture of that T-55 tank that was produced way back in the 1950s, okay? And it says here, Russia's oldest and biggest movie studio, Mosfilm, donated dozens of Soviet-era tanks and other armored vehicles to the Russian army last year, its CEO said during a meeting with President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday. Mosfilm storage facilities housed 28 T-55 tanks, 8 PT-76 light tanks, and 6 infantry fighting vehicles and other military equipment, according to the company's chief executive, Karen Shakhnazarov, if I'm pronouncing that right. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Sorry if I'm butchering that. I learned that there was a need, contacted the defense ministry, and they took these vehicles. Shakhnazarov. That's a tough one to say, guys. Told Putin in a meeting at the Kremlin. I was not immediately clear if any of the Soviet-era tanks had already been deployed to the battlefield in Ukraine. However, open-source intelligence groups that track Russian and Ukrainian military equipment losses have previously reported Moscow sending outdated tanks to the front lines. So like I've been telling you guys, I've shown you guys multiple videos and pictures of very old tanks, some of these Soviet era, even some from World War II. We've seen some of them literally sitting on some of the trains that Russia was using to transport this equipment over to the front lines. So is it possible that Russia's using really old equipment? I think it's very possible. I mean, according to the Ukrainians as well, they've come out and announced that Russia's consistently taking massive amounts of losses, not only in troops, but equipment as well. So very big possibility that maybe a lot of their tanks are being destroyed. So Shakhnazarov also boasted Wednesday that Mosfilm had donated 6 million rubles or $60,900 for Russia's war needs so far in 2024. Founded in 1924, Mosfilm is known for having produced Soviet cinema classics such as Alexander Nevsky and Moscow Does Not Believe in Tears. Okay, so just a little background from that company. Now I want to show you guys the video of Vladimir Putin speaking to the CEO. So we're going to hop on over to Anton Gerashenko on X. Mosfilm Film Studio boasted to Putin it handed over tanks and armored vehicles produced in the 1950s, stored in the studio's warehouse for the special military operation needs. We are proud of Mosfilm, Putin answered. We provided charitable support of 8 million rubles this year, including 6 million for the special military operation needs. By the way, in 2023, we handed over to the armed forces 28 T-55 tanks, 8 PT-76 tanks, 6 APCs, and 8 tractor units, which had stored at the military technical base, Mosfilm director told Putin. Now, it makes me wonder, how big of a help is this with sending really extremely old tanks and equipment over to Russia on the front lines. I mean, if they're having shortage of military equipment, it obviously makes sense. It's something better than nothing, I guess. But just imagine being a tank crew or part of a tank crew, and then all of a sudden you show up for duty and you're being told that you're going to hop into a T-55 tank that was produced nearly like 60 years ago. You know, just imagine being told that, and imagine the morale from these troops prior to being told they're going to be sent in to battle. Okay, so take a look at this, 40 seconds long.
Благотворительную помощь 8 миллионов оказали в этом году, и в том числе для нужд СВО 6 миллионов. Кстати, в 2023 году мы передали вооруженным силам 28 танков Т-55, 8 танков ПТ-76, 6 БМП и 8 тягачей, которые у нас хранились на военно-технической базе. Когда я узнал, что есть потребности, связался с Министерством обороны, забрал эти машины. Ну вот такие вот у нас итоги.
Гордимся Мосфильмом.
Спасибо. Благотворительную помощь.
All right, very interesting, right? So if you didn't notice, most of this equipment was transferred over to the Russian military in 2023. So this would have been the second year of the war. You know, imagine 3 years in, I'm sure Russia has taken massive losses of tanks in general and their armored vehicles. So who knows, maybe a lot of these, if they were sent to the front line in 2023, they could already be gone, destroyed. But yeah, apparently from Mosfilm, they did send these over directly to Russia's military for the special military operation, according to the CEO here. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple other things. I actually showed you guys this just the other day from Knoll Reports. Russian losses per November 12th, 2024, reported by the Ukrainian General Staff. Now, I actually showed this to you guys yesterday in our update video regarding Russia and Ukraine, and it says right here that just their personnel alone, they lost 1,950 troops. This is for the Russian losses, okay? And then also, for their tanks, they lost 23, okay? So according to the Ukrainians, assuming this number is correct or even close, somewhere around 9,276 Russian tanks have been destroyed or disabled in some sort of way, non-usable to the Russian military for them to use inside of Ukraine or in the Kursk region. Now, let me know what you think down below. Do you think it's possible that these numbers are correct, that it's anywhere close to 9,000? Do you think maybe it's more or maybe less? But according to the Ukrainians, they are estimating massive losses here. I mean, even throughout the duration of this war, 700,000 Russian troops. So if Russia is taking on these massive amounts of losses, would it make sense that companies like Mosfilm would be sending over Soviet-era tanks to Russia's military to throw them on the front line? I mean, it's pretty crazy to be thinking about that Russia's pulling out extremely old equipment. We have also seen really old artillery guns even being pulled out as well. So one last thing I want to show you guys from Bliskovka regarding the Kursk region. Due to the losses incurred, Russia is redeploying its best trained units to the Kursk region. This was stated by the acting head of the communications department of the 82nd Bukovnia Airborne Brigade of the Air Assault Forces, according to Viktor Kravstov. I believe that this is how they relieve pressure in the eastern direction, Kravstov said. Okay, so what we have been hearing inside the Kursk region recently is the Russians are just throwing massive amounts of troops at the Ukrainians in a desperate attempt to try to push Ukraine out of the Kursk region. We also reported to you guys just the other day as well that Vladimir Putin came out and announced that he ordered his troops to make sure that Ukraine is pushed out of the Kursk region by January 20th before Donald Trump takes office in the United States. So what's being reported here is that Russia's also deploying their best trained units to the Kursk region, which is also a sign of desperation to make sure they are hopefully successful in pushing Ukraine out of the Kursk region. We'll see if that does come. But so far, what we have been hearing is the Ukrainians have been destroying massive amounts of equipment and troops that come at them in the Kursk region. So is this another sign that Russia definitely is losing lots of equipment and forces, also not in the Kursk region, but even in the eastern side of Ukraine? You guys let me know what you think down below, but this is definitely a very interesting story coming out today, and I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. So if you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.